nor silver, nor brass in your purses, nor scrip for your journey, neither 2 coats, neither shoes, nor yet stays, for the workman is worthy of his meat. In other words, you don't worry about yourself. As you go around preaching, the people will take care of you. I'll take care of you, God. Jesus saying, I'll take care of you, but through the people.
Right.
Luke chapter number 10. Jesus again refers to this about his disciples being taken care of. Verse number 7. And in the same house remaining, eating and drinking such thing as they give. In other words, they will provide for you. For the laborer is worthy of his hire. And go not from house to house. And into whatsoever city you enter, and they receive you, eat such things and are set before you. So you see the principle Jesus is telling his disciples. You go, don't take money with you. Either purse or gold. Listen, by faith, God will take care of you.
Amen.
Through his people.
Yep.
They'll provide for you. They'll feed you. They'll clothe you. They'll house you. And so that, Jesus is talking about that in the Gospels. And Paul is reminding them in 1 Corinthians chapter number 9, remember about the priest? And then he talks about verse number 14, even so the Lord hath ordained. When did he ordain that? Well, we read Matthew and Luke. This is what he's talking about. Those that preach the gospel should live of the gospel.
Right.
In other words, those who are being fed spiritually, then you should take care of the one who is feeding you spiritually. And we looked at that earlier last week, where the workman, the farmer, could eat of the fruit of his field. The shepherd could eat of the milk of the sheep, take part of the flock and all. So he's referring again in verse number 14. The Lord ordained that they which preach the gospel should live the gospel. Now he's flipping it. This is what ought to happen. In verse number 15, but I've not used none of these things. Remember, he had the power. He had the authority. You need to take care of me. But he didn't do that because of the weaker brother. He didn't want to offend anybody. So Paul didn't mandate that. We're going to get that just a little bit. I've used none of these things, neither have I written these things that it should be so done unto me. Literally, here's what he's saying. Paul had the right to be supported by the church, but he did not use that right. And in writing this, Paul was not hinting. I put this in my quotes in my notes. Hinting, or was he hunting for support?
Right.
When he said this, I'm not writing you these things in order for you to do this. That's why he's saying this. I'm not written you. He used that word written. I'm not written these things in order for you to support me. This isn't the reason I'm writing you these things. In other words, he's not hinting, hint, hint, hint. You take care of me. Neither was he hunting, trying to get them, okay, maybe now they'll take care of me. He had taken nothing from the church at Corinth. Turn me, I want you to see this in 2 Corinthians chapter number 7. Turn me there. Look at this. Let's begin in verse number 9. I said it's 11. Verse 7. Okay. 2 Corinthians 11:7. Have I committed an offense in abasing myself that ye might be exalted? Remember, he's writing to the same church at Corinth. This is his second letter. Because I preached to you the gospel of God freely. In other words, without charge to you. I was there and I preached freely. Look at verse number 8. Now remember the context. I robbed other churches, taking wages of them to do you service. Now, don't think, when we think of the word robbed, it's like a hold up. But what he's saying, I took from other churches supported me to benefit you.
Right.
So that's the thought. I robbed other churches who were supporting me just so I could take care of you.
That's the missionary standpoint, isn't it? Pastors are paid by the church, but missionaries are paid by other churches to go
In a certain way. Absolutely right. Here, the church at Corinth was getting a freebie. And I believe that's one of the reasons they had a lot of problems. Remember that he told the church in chapter number 3, man, you're carnal. Some says I'm a Paul, some of Cephas, some have said I'm a Apollos, and then the super spirituals one says, well, I'm of Jesus. Now, that wasn't a compliment. That's actually, those are those super Christians that had the C on their cape or whatever. Well, I'm of Jesus, that kind of thing. A lot of their problem was they were selfish, they were carnal, they wouldn't even take care of the preacher. And Paul said, listen, when I was with you, I robbed the other churches. Here I was taking care of you to do you service. Verse number 9. And when I was present with you and wanted, and I was in need, I was chargeable to no man. For that which was lacking to me, the brethren which came from Macedonia, we heard something about Macedonia this week. The brethren which came from Macedonia supplied, other churches supplied Paul's need, and it wasn't from that sorry church at Corinth.
Right.
And that, by the way, is why he's correcting them. They had a lot, they were charismatic. I can't wait till we get to chapter number 12. If you remember, they wrote Paul, 6 things they wrote Paul. They had some problems, they had questions. Paul, remember in chapter number 7, we looked at this. Paul, I'm saved, my wife is unsaved, or my husband's unsaved. What do I do? Can I stay married to him? Yes, you stay married to him.
I have to stop
If they
recording
were
now.
pleased to stay married,
Sorry.
Stay married. Remember,